To leave your mark on the world, you've got to actually be able to make a mark on the world.
In the classroom, Xander's got a lot of really good friends.
Not like you carried him.
In more open area situations, you can kind of get a little left behind.
I have lots of kids that aren't invited to birthday parties, ever. Friends are hard to make when you're not mobile.
When he's on the bike, he just often just gets this really big, like, happy grin on his face.
I want you to feel like you have control over your own happiness. And I know for young children, that's attached to your mobility. And so when Xander runs away from home, then I know we're good.
A kid that can't grab or sit or crawl or walk misses out on the fun of motion. They also miss out on the ability to make independent acts and decide when and where to move, when to hug dad, when to run after brother, when to eat that booger.
I think it's a really cool program. I mean, for her to have something, while we're in limbo, going through the process, getting her a wheelchair to give her some mobility, keep up with her sisters, will be cool.
She is going to be able to chase her brother around down the street on his bike, and because that's something she has never been able to do. I mean, I can push her in her wheelchair behind him, but this is her on her own doing it by herself, and I think she's going to have a great time.
If you can't make a decision about when and where to move, someone else has to. Making a decision for a child with special needs is a dangerous business if you're trying to foster independence. Now, these kids need assistance. It's often practical, occasionally necessary, but the over-reliance on assistance is detrimental to their development of independence. At Toys R Us, we saw a variety of ride-on cars, each costing about $100. Keep in mind, pediatric power wheelchairs cost upwards of $25,000. Back at the lab, we tried to configure a way to modify these cars with real-world materials for kids all over the world.
We use PVC and we modify a seating support to provide them with some extra support that they need so that they can be safe while driving the car. And that also typically involves using pool fun noodles and also kickboards as well.
That's Diamond. She's a 4-year-old cutie that lives in a residential facility for medically complex kids. It's a really beautiful place with hand-drawn murals on the walls. And every day, she was passively pushed along these murals in the halls. Lab folks built her that John Deere tractor for her and her ventilator. And now she could actively drive down those halls. And she'd pass those murals occasionally and stop. And the nurses mentioned, this is really interesting. She's seen those murals her whole life. Why is she stopping when she's actively driving? It's like she's seeing them for the first time. They just articulated the science behind the development of visual perception. Active, independent mobility changes our view of the world. When Diamond hit that switch and swished by those painted murals, those walls came alive. She saw her world again for the first time.
That babies as young as 6 months old could learn how to drive joystick-driven robots. And as a result of this early power, they showed developmental gains in cognition, social, language, and motor. So really across all these different domains.
Let me tell you about 2 different technologies in the medical rehabilitation. There are assistive technologies, and there's rehabilitative technologies. Assistive technologies are canes, crutches, and wheelchairs. They bring your ability up to what the world demands, but doesn't increase your body's ability. Somebody in a wheelchair after a year isn't expected to be stronger or more coordinated. Rehabilitative technologies, in contrast, are your treadmills, your balance masters, your gym equipment. They increase your body's ability to meet the world's needs, but they don't do it in real life, and they don't increase your functional skills. In pediatrics, we need both. We took Thomas the Train here, a basic Fisher-Price toy for about $100, and we made it into the sit style. So at 4 or 5 months, you can get mobile, just like Diamond. Check out the switch on the seat. With a toggle switch in the back, Mom can turn a sit car into a sit stand. So now to get the good stuff, you got to stand up. A sit stand in one device. like a little mini Segway. Let's get greedy. Look at the foot plate. There's 2 switches there. We've got sit, stand, and now when mom toggles the switch for weight shifts, you have to unweight your legs back and forth on those platforms to get the good stuff. You feel where I'm going here? Sit, stand, weight shift. Why don't we drop the bottom out of those foot plates and put your legs squarely on the ground? Now, Thomas will only go when you stand up and shuffle your legs in a walking motion. So in one relatively inexpensive device, mom, therapist, early educator can determine sitting early on, standing. But what if I can't stand by myself? A PVC harness can hold you there. Then a weight shift, then drop the feet out in a power-assisted walker. So Sarah doesn't have a reason to keep her head up. Well, when she drives her ride-on car, she has a reason. That's the accelerators behind her head.
You sit up tall with your head, ready?